First phase of the plans, this is a swimming pool looked at from above. What's the surface area of the swimming pool? If you happen to remember the area for the formula of a trapezoid, it's 1/2 base 1 plus base 2, like if this is base A and this is base B, the sum of the bases, 1/2 of that times the height here. We have one of the bases, we have the top one, so if we're given the bottom one, we can figure it out. Let's look at the statements. Statement 1 tells us that MR equals 155. This is basically telling us that B, for our 1/2 A plus B times H, B equals 155. So we have both bases and we have the height here. Statement 1 is definitely sufficient. It falls right into our hands for figuring out the area. So it's not statement 2 alone, and it's not either of the insufficient ones. Trickier is statement 2, which tells us that QR, this number over here, is 40 times the square root of 5. And we should probably, for purposes of determining sufficiency, get rid of that number. Now, it looks like it might not be sufficient because we don't have a value for the whole base. However, if you don't, and this is something you would have had to do anyway if you didn't remember the formula for the area of a trapezoid, you can always figure it out by dividing it up into a rectangle and two triangles. And the two triangles will not necessarily be the same size. So we know that the height is still going to be 80. And from here, we can use the Pythagorean theorem to figure out what this value equals. So if this is, let's get rid of this a temporarily, using the Pythagorean theorem, which you may remember is a squared plus b squared equals c squared when you have right triangles, and this one would be a right triangle. We have b squared, which would be 80, c squared, which would be 40 times the square root of 5 squared, and a squared would be this base, this last little bit that we're trying to figure out. If we could figure that out, we know that this number is 55, we know that this number is 60, and then if we had a, we would have this base too. So it would be then 1/2 the base times the height of this triangle, 1/2 the base times the height of this triangle, plus 80 times 60. And that would be the area of the entire figure. So even though the side QR is not the most helpful number, by dividing the shape up, we could actually figure out the area of each of its constituent parts, and the sum of those would be the area, and therefore it's sufficient. Each statement alone is sufficient. Answer choice D.